Our next two speakers are wonderful people from Christians United for Israel. I'm going to bring up Ed Douglas first, our state director, and he and Pat are very close friends with me and Michael, and then Ed will be introducing our next speaker from CUFI.
First of all, I just want to thank you for coming. And for those Bible-believing Christians that are out there, Paul wrote, St. Paul, wrote in his second book in Timothy 3:16, all scripture is inspired by God and is good for teaching, reproving, correcting, and teaching. Well, God spoke to Abraham and taught him this, that those that bless you, Abraham, and your descendants will be blessed, and those that don't will not be blessed. And all the generations of the world will be blessed by you. This agreement is without a doubt not a blessing to Israel. And thus, what God told Abraham will come down possibly on us. We've been supporting Israel and the Jewish people. That has changed through this agreement. You know, we've been talking about the agreement and everything, but if you go to the website, you could actually read the agreement. So I went there. I mean, this is such a critical thing, and I said, I'm a layman, but I've read many legal documents, so I went there. And Claire did a tremendous job in covering the agreement and its ramifications. But as a layman, I went there and I looked at it. If you take a look at, there's 159 pages. That's a lot of pages. But when you go there, you'll see the first 20 pages really summarize everything. And in that first 20 pages, they talk about 3 nuclear plants. And they go to describe what's going to happen to those nuclear facilities. But in that, no mention is really made of military sites. And I remember, I'm just a layman looking at this, and then these secret agreements come up as related to these military sites that have been known to have nuclear things going on since 2005. They were never mentioned. So I, as a layman, look at this, well, something as serious as this, why is it in there? Well, you tell me why it's not. But that's the first 20 pages. And then it goes on, and the next 30 pages cover what they're going to do in these 3 nuclear facilities. They're going to, one of them is going to become a state-of-the-art nuclear plant. Another one is going to be turned over to technology and research. And the Nadenz facility, they will allow uranium enrichment to a very low level. So that's the next 30 pages. But do you know what the next 85 pages are? Sanction relief. Just go take a look at it. 85 pages. Iran did a fantastic job of detailing everything that they needed on their sanctions. You'll just kind of, when you see this, it gives you a little more insight, and then you put everything else that you've learned into it, and everything comes and makes sense. So and you're up to 135 pages. And then there's about 15 pages of the workings of the Joint Commission. And then you're about there. But it's easy reading, and it'll just give you that insight. Now I would like to introduce Samuel Lourie, who is the CUFI on-campus Eastern Region Field Organizer. Now, Sam is going to give you an insight on what is happening on campuses throughout the United States and how it's related to the Iran agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I must begin by saying how incredible it is to see all of you here united with one message: to stop Iran now and for peace through strength for America and humanity. Unfortunately, as we all well know, the current deal our administration has negotiated with Iran was not from a point of strength and will not produce peace. It does not require Iran to cease from being the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism. It does not provide for any time, anywhere inspections, as we were promised it would. It will not curb their enrichment of uranium. It will lift the arms embargo in 10 years, and it provides the regime with access to over $150 billion, which will likely replenish its terror proxies around the world. Friends, this is not a place of strength, but of weakness and appeasement. If history has taught us anything, it is that when you are dealing with a regime as evil as the Islamic Revolutionary Republic of Iran, the greater danger lies in the road of appeasement, not in a show of strength. But if we don't agree with this administration's deal of surrender and appeasement, we are indicted as warmongers. So what's your solution, they ask? Well, in the words of Ronald Reagan, you and I have the courage to tell our elected officials that we want a national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right. This past July, Christians United for Israel gathered 5,000 grassroots activists in the nation's capital and stormed the halls of Congress demanding such a policy towards Iran. It just so happened the day we had been planning to lobby our elected officials for months was the very day this deal was signed in Vienna. Now, I don't know what you all believe, but I know in the Hebrew language there's no word for the word coincidence. Of these 5,000 members that lobbied, 389 congressmen and senators, over 520 of them were student leaders from universities across America. The majority of these student leaders led their district meetings explaining to their elected officials why this Iran deal is so disastrous and why it is a historic defeat for the United States of America. I have the pleasure of working with these outstanding students who are ensuring the future of America and Israel remains strong and free. These students are engaging their classmates and educating them about Israel and the justice of Israel. They are making the case to their peers that a strong Israel means a strong America. They are explaining how Israel is on the front lines of fighting the Iranian terror proxies of Hamas and Hezbollah, sworn enemies of the United States. Similar to Israel, these students are on the front lines of a heavy ideological battle on their campuses. The enemy they are up against is driven by an ideology that has ties to the Islamic revolutionary leaders of Iran themselves. There is a vehemently anti-Israel movement that is gaining traction on college campuses. They call themselves the BDS movement, that seek to boycott Israeli products, manipulate their universities to divest from Israeli businesses, and sanction Israel in international forums. Friends, it is a movement built on hatred and lies. Their toxic message is poisoning the hearts and minds of the millennial generation with a false message about Israel and America, and they must be stopped. The student groups that this movement operates through, Students for Justice in Palestine and the Muslim Student Association, have very clear ties, not alleged ties, but clear ties to Islamic terrorist organizations. For example, the Muslim Brotherhood established the Muslim Student Association. One of its leaders, Wael Juladeen, who was president of his chapter at the University of Arizona in the 1980s, went on to co-found Al-Qaeda after graduation. Some post-grad plans. Hatem Bazian, the founder of Students for Justice in Palestine, or SJP, is a senior lecturer at UC Berkeley, who officially created the group to be Hamas on campus. At its inception, Bazian read the Hamas charter, which calls for the destruction of Israel, genocide against Jews, and for Israel to be replaced with an Islamic state, much like ISIS. Bazian has spoken at large rallies numerous times, calling for an intifada right here in America. That's right, friends, a violent, radical Islamic uprising right here in the United States. To summarize, we know that Hamas is a proxy of Iran, Students for Justice in Palestine, a proxy of Hamas, the Muslim Student Association, a proxy of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Brotherhood is the parent organization of Hamas. This is a very well-established and sophisticated network. Knowing all this, we can be assured that a strong and enriched Iran from sanctions relief will bolster their ability not only to get the bomb, but also to continue to infiltrate our university systems with their radical ideologies through these proxy organizations. Friends, we all have a stake in this battle on college campuses. We are talking about nothing less than fighting for the heart and soul of America and the survival of Western civilization. We know that universities have been the bedrock of Western values, Western ideas, and freedoms. But this threat of the spread of radical Islamic ideologies on college campuses is a threat to the very freedoms and God-given rights we hold so dear. A threat to the foundations of the American Republic itself. It is the Islamic Revolution against the American Revolution. Which ideology will prevail? The choice is ours. Will we forge ahead, take action, and conquer this enemy like we did Nazism, fascism, and communism? Or will we surrender through appeasement? About 3,000 years ago, there was a young man named David. David saw an infamous enemy taunting his people named Goliath. Goliath was a strong and mighty champion that was putting fear into all of Israel's hearts. David, however, had a different perspective than his countrymen. He declared, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that dare defy the armies of the living God?" Well, I think we all know what happened next. May we all go forth in that same spirit, with that same courage, as happy warriors to defeat this deal and take back the universities of this great nation for freedom. God bless the state of Israel, and God bless the United States of America.